Today I'm going to share with you some secrets we carry in our blood vessels, secrets that we can use in order to treat diseases. So let's begin with the first one, which is the fact that the heart and the blood vessels are the first organs to form in the developing embryo. Some of you might be familiar with this picture here. This is a sonogram showing the heartbeat of a 6-week-old embryo. Isn't this amazing? 6 weeks of pregnancy. Sometimes we even don't know that we are pregnant, and this embryo already has a pumping heart and functional blood vessels. For me, as a scientist that has been studying how embryos develop for almost 20 years, this is one of the most fascinating things in nature. So how does this miracle happen? To explain that, I need to take you a little bit back, 6 weeks, to the 6 weeks before this sonogram, to the very first beginning of life. In fact, to the very first cell of our body. And why is that? Because all of us started our lives from a single cell. One single cell that carries all the information required to make each of you the person you are today. A single cell that was created through the fusion of a sperm and an egg that can do more or less everything. It can build legs, it can build a brain, it can build a heart. This is by itself amazing. Let's try to compare this to another complex task, like building a car, for instance, or it can be a plane or a rocket. In this case, if I bring a team of experts and I give them a manual with all the instructions and I bring all the required components of the car, they eventually will be able to put together a car. It may take longer, depending on how good workers they are, but eventually they will manage. In the case of the embryo, all the information to make the person we are today is contained within one single cell. The workers, the manual, and the different components of our bodies. Another amazing thing about how embryos develop is the fact that across evolution, we all develop in a very similar manner. So if we look at the very, very early stages of development of a fish, a chick, a pig, or a human embryo, we all look very similar at the beginning, and this is my second secret. We all have a tail at the beginning, and what is even more surprising, we all have similar brains. Yes, we and the fish have very, very similar brains at the beginnings of our lives. The only difference between the fish and the human, for instance, is the time of development. So what we see here in the top row is a human embryo of around 6, 7, 8 weeks of pregnancy. This same fish embryo will reach this stage of development at 24 hours. So the timing is very different, but the essence is very similar. So similar that if I show you this picture, for instance, I'm not sure you will be able to tell me which of these ones is a human embryo. I can give you a hint, it's not E, although I'm sure that in a few years from now, our kids will believe that this is how embryos look like. So why we want to study embryonic development? I've given you my personal reason. I find it fascinating. But would it be amazing if we could learn something from this process, something that can help us treat diseases, something that can help us cure people? One thing that we would really, really love to do, for instance, is to be able to generate organs in a dish that we can use for transplantation. Imagine having such kind of store where we can go, pick the organ that we need to replace, and just have it in front of us. Think, for instance, about this heart that has undergone a heart attack. Part of the muscle has died and is not functional anymore. Wouldn't it be great if we could just teach the cells of this heart how to repair the damage, how to rebuild themselves into a healthy heart? Well, let me tell you that we can do that. We can do that if we learn from developing embryos. We believe that developing embryos, in fact, have the key to teach us how to build new organs and how to treat diseases. And why is that? Because embryos have done this from the very, very beginning, from that very first single cell that I presented to you at the beginning of my talk. In my lab, we focus on trying to understand how embryos build a heart and blood vessels. Why is that? You can see this in this graph. The leading causes of death in the Western world somehow involve blood vessels. Whether this is heart disease, cancer, cardiovascular disease, stroke, all of these causes of death involve some kind of malfunction of the blood vessels. Sometimes to treat diseases, we want to encourage blood vessel growth. For example, in the case of this heart attack that I've showed you before. In some cases, like in cancer, we want to stop blood vessels from growing in order to starve the tumor and force it to die. So how we are going to learn how to encourage blood vessel growth, how to stop blood vessels from growing? Well, by looking at embryos. And since I've told you that from the fish all the way to human, embryos are very similar, in our lab, we chose to do it using fish. So let me introduce to you one of the most important protagonists of this talk, the zebrafish. And why we use zebrafish? First of all, we use them because they are cute, but not only. We use them because they are small, because they take very little space, they are very easy to grow, and they have tons of embryos. One of the most important reasons we love zebrafish embryos is the fact that they are transparent. And if we want to learn how to make organs, we need embryos that we can look through them and watch their organs, their blood vessels developing in real time. As you can see here in this movie that I took a while ago by myself. Another reason we love zebrafish is because they are able to regenerate most of their organs. Again, this is something that we want to learn, how we take an organ, we cut a piece of it, and this organ just regrows itself. So the zebrafish, if we cut even a third of the zebrafish heart, it will rebuild the heart fully recovered in a matter of 2 months. This is really, really amazing. And if we could have that power that we lost with evolution, would be really, really helpful for us to treat heart disease. So we have fish that can regenerate organs. We have fish that are transparent. What can we do with them? First thing we do, we make fish with glow-in-the-dark vessels. We make them in many different colors. We can have them in red, we can have them in green, we can have them in blue, and even in pink, so everyone can find its favorite color. These glow-in-the-dark vessels help us see through the fish and follow the formation of these blood vessels. Let's look at one classic experiment from our lab. We have a fish. This fish is 1 day old, was born yesterday, and we see in real time how the blood vessels are forming. These are the blood vessels that run through the ribs, exactly like our ribs have blood vessels running through. Here, we have a little brother of this embryo that was treated with a drug that inhibits the ability of blood vessels to form. So you see here that all the little vessels that we saw growing in the first embryo, we don't see here. And this means that we have here something, a very potent inhibitor of blood vessel growth that we can use maybe in the future to treat diseases that require blood vessels to stop growing. This way, in fact, we find genes that control blood vessel growth, and genes for us means proteins, and proteins eventually means drugs. Let's look at another example. Small vessel disease is a devastating disease. This disease is responsible for half of all cases of dementia and the vast majority of strokes. It is characterized by the presence of small foci of hemorrhage that start spreading throughout the brain. There is no cure for this disease, and there are very, very few genetic mutations that were found to be associated with this disorder. So we asked ourselves whether we can generate a model, a zebrafish model, to start the disease. So this is what we did, and as you can see here, we have the bottom embryo with a big hemorrhage in his brain. We can see here how this happens. You will start seeing red blood cells that begin coming off the vessels. The vessels start literally exploding, and the blood comes off. And this is how a stroke looks like in real time. So here is another example how tiny little zebrafish can help us understand the development of a disorder. Another important disease that we look at is lymphedema and malfunction of the lymphatic system. What we see here is a typical case of a woman after mastectomy that has developed lymphedema in the arm. In fact, around 90% of cancer patients undergoing surgery will develop lymphedema, which is the accumulation of fluids in our body that we cannot drain anymore because the lymph nodes have been removed. This disease, again, has no cure. And why is that? Because we don't know how to grow lymphatic cells in a dish for transplants. So a few years ago, using, again, our fish, we were able to find for the first time the way to grow these cells in culture. So now we have the hope that this one day might be translated to the clinics and will help bring some hope for patients with lymphedema. So in our day-to-day work in the lab, we always keep in mind to go back to the developing embryo. It doesn't matter if it's a zebrafish or a human embryo. It is important to solve this puzzle, to understand the mysteries of life, one organ at a time. And just so you see that I didn't forget, and I don't want to leave you thinking all night which one was the human embryo, I will give you the answer. The answer is C, but you will have to find by yourself which embryos are the other ones. Thank you.